Welcome to Sex with Rebecca, a show geared towards relationships and sexuality that'll help you enjoy your relationships more than you ever thought possible. Send us your difficult questions and we'll bring you expert answers unlike anywhere else. Whether you're looking for more passion or connection, kink or better self-expression, we got you covered. I'd like to begin by answering an email we received. Dear Rebecca, my boyfriend and I have a great sex life, but for some reason I want more. I have a plethora of hot fantasies that I'd like to test out as role plays, but I'm afraid to introduce them to him because knowing him, he'll take that as a sign of me being dissatisfied with him. Please help. Signed, Sky. Sky, I hope that your boyfriend is watching with you, since I have a few things that I'd like to point out. First of all, we all fantasize, 85% of us during lovemaking. Secondly, our fantasies aren't under our control. Like our dreams, they tap into the subconscious and help us express our deep-seated desires and our conflicts, which are too difficult to manage in the conscious. As Carl Jung put it, the conscious mind allows itself to be trained while the subconscious does not. Number 3, our fantasies often get hardwired during childhood. This generally happens during our sexual imprinting stage, around 5 to 8 years of age, based on what's going on around us at the time that produces arousal within us. 4, unlearning a fantasy is impossible. It would be like trying to unlearn our favorite ice cream flavor. 5, fantasies allow us to go beyond physical sensations. They provide the psychological high that takes us over the edge. 6, fantasy is not reality. To transcend from one to the other is a huge step, one that's under our control, unlike the fantasy itself. That said, let's talk a little bit about the area between fantasy and reality, as in role-playing, since you've expressed an interest in it. First and foremost, I want to clarify that a role play with a consenting adult is just that, play, not reality, but it can still get us pretty hot and bothered in the safest way imaginable. Regardless, if either party finds a sexual request to be out of their comfort zone, they have the right to say no after clarifying that it's the idea they're having a problem with, not their partner. But if you both feel comfortable enough to move forward, you need to make sure that you come up with a safety net and safe words ahead of time. Speaking of safety, whether or not he feels threatened will depend upon your presentation. Among other things, you need to clarify that what you're suggesting is an addition to what you guys are already enjoying, not a substitution because you're dissatisfied, lest he worry about his sexual prowess. Bottom line, fantasies are theater of the mind, an ingenious way in which our intellect overcomes cognitive dissonance around our desire issues, and they provide satisfaction within the safety of a healthy relationship. To our audience, if you have any questions of your own, do write us, especially if it has to do with adding something extra to your lovemaking. Speaking of extras, tonight we have a very special treat for you, a discussion about tantric sex, which can create more closeness than you ever thought possible. Joining us for that discussion is Tantra teacher Anne Marlow, who practices Tantra as a lifestyle. Welcome, Anne. We're so delighted to have you as our guest tonight. Thank you for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here, Rebecca. It's great.
Thank you. Let's get right into it. What exactly is Tantra, and does it have anything to do with sex, since there seem to be a lot of misconceptions around that?
Well, first of all, Tantra is a lifestyle, and within that lifestyle, you have to take a look at the lifestyle. Think of it as a chain, so there's many different links in that chain holding that lifestyle together. The main hub link is sacred sexuality and sex in general. So without that, all the other links just don't hold together. So basically, that's the easiest way to describe what Tantra is. It's a lifestyle of all those elements to link together.
And you said sacred sexuality seems to be at the heart of it. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, sacred sexuality meaning it's ceremonial, it's ritual, it's in the moment, energized in intimate space with a partner. So sacred meaning, you know, there's a wheel of consent, and consenting every time that you get sexual with your partner or a partner that you want to get, you know, intimate with for the first time. There is always consent. It has to be understood what each other's boundaries are, and they have to be respected each and every time.
That's lovely. So there's intention and there's respecting and making sure that each party gets what they're hoping for. Sally Tisdale says that good sex is basically when your hope and what's going on in your body, they come together and they're aligned. So it sounds very much like what you're talking about. How do we bring Tantra into our lives?
Well, I think it's a practice. It's like any other thing. I mean, it takes, if you there's a book that you can get, 28 Days to Creating a Habit. So I do have a booklet actually that I can send out to some of my clients on a PDF file where they do one ingredient or element each day, and then the next day they would add on the one before, and the third day they add on the other two before. So to create...
So there's a build-up.
Yeah, a build-up. So once you get to the 28 days, then you've got a habit formed, and so it should be implemented into your daily life as eating, as sleeping. Eating and sleeping are, you know, detrimental things that we need in our daily life. Sacred sexuality, generating that energy together, polarizing it, meshing it together each and every day.
So this is something that a couple could practice together. It would certainly be more meaningful if both of them are going through these 28 days.
Definitely. Yep. Both partners have to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So can you quickly tell us a couple of things that are included in that before we go to break?
Well, first of all, just start to get reacquainted with each other in intimate space. That. Yeah. I mean, we tend to think that intimacy or sacred sexuality has to do with sex, but just be present with each other with breath, be present with just looking at each other again for the first time and just visualizing and reacquainting with your eyes on your partner's body.
Sounds absolutely lovely. And I know you're going to be telling us a little bit more about the breathing and connection, because that's something in a rushed society, we do away with it. And then people wonder why they feel such a great big disconnect.
Exactly.
Great information, Marianne. When we return, we'll be discussing tantric touch and how it can enhance both intimacy as well as orgasms. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, geared towards making your relationships more robust than you ever thought possible. In this episode, we're talking about tantric sex with Tantra teacher Anne Marlow. Anne, before break, we promised our audience that we'll be discussing tantric touch and its benefits. So can we talk about that very special touch next?
Yeah, sure. Touching is a place that is a little bit underestimated. We're always wanting to touch, but we're either groping or we're fondling. But there is a certain technique when it comes to just opening and reawakening the sexual energy field on the skin. Especially if you're with a partner, you want to start in the same place all the time. It's usually with an open hand and right on the sacral bone of the body. We're just hovering.
So right at the base of the spine.
Yep, right where the sex chakra is.
Yes.
We're actually just connecting with the palm of the hand, and we can feel heat there. And when we attach the hand there, we want to just connect with that part of the body. And then the other hand is grooving up the spine, because there's 4 major energy chakras through the back. So we want to take that energy that's just all coiled and stuck in a big chain in that part of the body. We want to move it up the spine. So that's the starting point. It's always on the surface of the skin. That's where the sexual energy field, that's where it lives. So
that's why you feel the heat, right?
Yeah, and so usually what we're trying to do is generate, pulling it out, and there's a breathing rhythm that's associated with that touch as well. So you're kind of doing them in combination with each other so that the person who's receiving the touch can start to feel the energy and feel the arousal right away without the intrusion on the genitals. You don't even have to go there. So you're feeling the energy, get them reacquainted with that touch on their sex chakra, and then taking inhales and pushing that up, pulling it out from the genitals, up the spine, envisioning it and helping the person with the hand, pushing it through.
Pushing it through.
Yeah.
I like that you don't have to jump at the genitals and grope, because I work with a lot of people who've had some kind of sexual trauma in the genital zone. And as soon as somebody touches that area, they tense up, or they are not confident, or they're comfortable, or maybe the body is holding a memory. So this is beautiful that you start to engage the sexual chakra without actually groping. So it sounds absolutely lovely. Can we reach better orgasms with this practice?
Oh my God, like definitely.
I like that we said, oh my God.
Well, I remember the first time.
The bedroom eyes popped up.
Yeah, the first time that I experienced an awakening with my own sexual essence and my energy was mind-blowing, because for years and years I would just try so hard to have that orgasm, right? And then be exhausted.
Focused on that.
Yeah. And exhaustion just overtook me. I think, oh, that was great, but holy, I don't want to do that again for a week, right?
Yeah.
So when you were gently opening up, we get reacquainted, especially with women, we get reacquainted with our sexual with the tingling sensations, and we start to really feel orgasmic without any touch at all on our genitals. So then you can have an orgasm just through touch, just through the connecting, the firm connecting on the female yoni, which is the Sanskrit word for vagina, and allowing that part of the pelvic body to open. You'll actually see the pelvic moving and rotating just with the connection of the male partner on her sacral. Yeah. And I've had amazing, mind-blowing
orgasms
experiences, where it's like, where did that come from?
And usually people are so focused on it, it's so goal-oriented, that they're missing out the connection piece. And instead of being a mind, body, soul connection, it just becomes a body thing.
Absolutely.
And what you're describing is the trifecta. It combines all three together. And I know you're going to be talking about the yoni massage in a little bit, so very excited about that. Now, a lot of this, as you mentioned, has to do with breathing, and they have to they work together. So can you explain what's the right way for us to breathe, and how does it work to help us with the arousal and sexual energy that you're talking about?
When I bring couples, for example, into session, I get them to start breathing all over again. Diaphragmic, getting into a Kama Sutra position with her thighs up on her partner's thighs with her legs wrapped around. And they bring their heart centers together and they just start breathing through the mouth, and just each other has their hands on each other's diaphragm, and getting them to focus on visualizing expanding and pushing the hands off of the tummy while they're inhaling, and taking 4 seconds of air through the nose and then exhaling through each other's mouths together. So, I mean, we're doing this because we're drawing whatever arousal the body's starting to feel, we're drawing it through the breath, getting it, we want to get it right, all that oxytocin, that arousal chemical, we want it to go right up to the pineal gland. That's how we breathing in sync together for about 20 minutes. That's the ideal starting point for couples.
That's incredible. And especially the way you've said that, taking it through, and the breathing does help connect. I also find that when people are getting distracted, I tell them just focus on the breathing, and then it takes their mind into their body instead of being in their head. When we return, we'll be discussing the secrets and benefits to a sacred union. I know you'll want to stick around for that. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, a show where we bring you expert advice on important matters to help your relationships be more intimate, exciting, and emotionally fulfilling. We've been talking about tantric sex with Tantra teacher Anne Marlow. Now, before break, we talked about harnessing our sexual energy. How does that impact our sacred union?
Well, for one, you can last longer so that you can enjoy the sexual intimate pleasure with your partner. A lot of times, sex with partners just becomes an act just to let each other know that they still care, and it's just over and done with so fast. But
rushed autopilot stuff.
Yeah, like warp speed, right? Because that's what society and how we live on the outside of the union. We tend to bring warp speed into the bedroom. So when we're more mindful when we're having sex, this is how we get reacquainted with each other's intimate,
like that.
Likes and dislikes, and things are always changing all the time. So, and it's
present.
Energized. Yeah, you're more present, and it's energizing. It's youth enhancing. It's
just that part.
Yeah, having sex to reverse the aging process. I mean,
hey, it's a really great line for partners saying I'm too old to have sex, like some people do, and we know no one is ever too old. So it's good. This is honey. This is going to make you feel younger. So that's lots of benefits. Let's move into the physical realm next. What's a yoni massage?
A yoni massage. Well, can I bring Yoni out?
Yes,
please. Yoni's here. Yoni is the Sanskrit word for vagina. So it's not like massaging the yoni, but it's just reconnecting with the meridians that are outside. We're not going to focus on the inside, but so you've got the...
Maybe you can just hold it up so our audience can see it a little bit better.
You've got the labia here. So when a man is actually getting, approaching the female yoni again, he's just connecting. But the fingers, and the vaginal entry, the fingers, that's where the fingers are, and just holding his palm there and just letting her squirm around until she starts to feel the connection.
And finds her own rhythm.
Yeah, finds her own rhythm. But usually, when the body starts moving, men just keep their hands still and just allow it to move to her body to move towards the hand. And then when the movement starts to come, this is when you can use the index finger and the thumb and just go down the labia on each side like that, and just keep allowing, let her move around. And then there's another reflex, that's 4 reflexes down the labia. And that's just to really take the labia and close it around the clitoris, just to create a warmth squeeze around the clitoris. And these are all starting points. And up in the pelvic palace is where I call it. There's 10 meridians that sit up up there. These are the focus places before we even go inside the vaginal entry. So we're massaging, we're staying right on the surface of the skin, just like the rest of the body too. We're not adding pressure. And just allowing an awakening to come through the yoni.
Awakening.
Yeah.
And feeling safe. It's not just like all of a sudden somebody's shoving things in there.
Totally.
It's feeling safe. It's feeling warm.
Yep.
And everything is opening up.
Yep. And the barometer for men is the clitoris. When he starts to feel it getting harder and a little stiffer, that's an indication he can actually start to, just tap the vaginal entry just when he starts to feel heat or, moisture. It's still not an indication to start going inside, but it's an indicator just to really get her to really rock those pelvic, get her really opening and wake up.
And grinding in there.
Wake up the lioness in this area of the body.
It's amazing. And work with what she's feeling as opposed to forcing something upon her.
Yep.
And that's the piece I like. I suppose that ties into generating that female sexual energy. Can you give us a quick comment on that?
On the female sexual energy? Oh gosh. That's a
Not a quickie.
That's a mysterious
headliner
energy.
Then.
Yeah. Okay. So the mysterious energy of the female yoni is powerful because we give birth out of that center, and the orgasm should just be as powerful. Because 10-pound human beings come flying out of that center. So when an orgasm is delivered from the yoni, it should be just as powerful. Yeah. But a lot of women have a hard time getting acquainted with that energy.
And letting go.
And it takes years, Rebecca. If there's a willing male partner that wants to work with that and help a woman heal that energy, because there's a lot of stifled energy stuck in there. We, as women, are not allowed to be primal with that.
Right.
And we
and
need
be sexually
to be
open. We have to somehow, we have to harness it, and we have to. So I love that idea, and I can see, I guess it's a topic unto itself. We'll have to come back to it. Yeah. Now, I've also heard about a dark tantra. So before we go to break, can you please give us a quick comment on what exactly that is all about and how it ties into what we've been talking about?
Well, I like to call it shadow tantra because if you think of a shadow, it's part of you. The sun comes down on you, it's cast on the ground. So it's a sexual identity that's within you, but it's not there, but it wants to play. So to be able to have the awareness of consent and light and love and be able to be nurturing in the whole area of exploring that will cast the shadow and it will come out. So I kind of take at that, that's how I describe it. It has nothing to do with any painful, shameful, psychological elements of your sexuality, but it's part of you, whether it's I like to be blindfolded or I like to be, my hands refrain from being able to touch. So these are areas that are kind of taboo, but they're part of you. It's an arousing place. It lifts you to a whole different level of arousal, and as it should.
Absolutely. And Carl Jung also talks about it. He says these are the areas we don't usually allow ourselves to play in those areas, but through sexuality, it gives us an opportunity to go there and actually play there and have fun and connect with the shadow.
Yeah.
Coming up, some final words on capturing our sexual essence. So do stick around for that. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, a show geared towards making your relationships the best they can be, both in and out of the bedroom. We've been discussing Tantric sex with Anne Marlow. Since this is a short segment, I have a couple of quick questions for you to complete the lovely picture that you've painted for us this evening. I understand that sexual energy can also be transmitted using one's mouth. How is mouth energy properly conducted throughout the body?
Well, it's the same way with the hands. So when we want to, go towards our partner's mouth or her neck or his neck or just anywhere on the body, we want to stay still on the surface of the skin. So when we're taking the deep breath in, then we're exhaling just over the body. Yeah, we're just. And
so it's not oral sex. It's just
it's
giving
not oral
the
sex, but you can do
breath.
that still exhaling technique through the yoni and through the lingam, which is the male penis. It's the surface of the skin because that's where the sexual energy is. So
And all the nerve endings.
yes,
lots of nerve
and
endings.
so all the meridians and through, breathing through the heart chakra, which stems from the heart, and there's 4 meridians that go up over
That's
the
right.
shoulder and down. We want to focus our breath through those areas so that you can feel. Mouth energy is a vent, just like our hands and our genitals. So we have to use that vent through the body to explore the sexual arousal. It's the easiest way is just to stay on the surface of the skin, but always take those inhales, those 4-second deep inhales, and then exhale all of that oxygen out through the whole body, wherever you can possibly go.
And in 4 seconds, you've taken a lot of breath in, then you can release it.
Yep.
And gives you a chance to just kind of be deliberate.
Yeah, and through the mouth too, like if you're going to give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, you want to be exhaling in your partner's mouth with the exhale, the Kama
So
Sutra.
your breaths are coming together.
Yeah,
Since we're talking technique when it comes to the lingam, penis, being inside the yoni, vagina, what's the correct way of movement for powering our sexual essence?
Well, again, this takes discipline for not just men but women as well, because sometimes the thrusting, it just gets overwhelming. So once lingam is inside yoni, you're just going to be just staying right at the G-spot, right at the tip of the glands of the lingam, and then take a deep breath and just go in deep and just hold space there and don't move and just breathe together and just stay present. And the female partner might want more movement because
She's hungry for more.
Yeah. So when we're lining, it's actually you're lining the chakra energies up through the genitals, and then he can come back out and just stay present at the G-spot again. And then just take another deep breath, and then he can go deep in and stay present and still. That's the hardest thing to do.
Is to sort of contain yourself there. And yet, the upper part of the female penis and just the opening of the female vagina are so sensitive, and yet people are into thrusting.
Yeah.
So I often say, 9 shallow, 1 deep, 8 shallow, 2 deep,
That's
and
right.
then work your way up and then all the way back. There seem to be a lot of benefits to practicing tantric sex, not the least of which is, the aging process that you talked about. But you also talked about how men, they can control, say, premature ejaculation. How does that work? Is it all because of the slow, deliberate movement?
Yeah, that's part of it. But there's a little bit of homework that needs to be done on the male's end of it, because building stamina and learning how to retrain the body, it should start before the age of 40, but men should start by 40 to start to get into self-pleasuring every day if they're not having sex with their partner, and do the breathing techniques to draw the energy out of the lingam until he goes flaccid at least 6 times during his self-pleasuring.
Really?
And that's the same way when they're actually in sacred union together. So if he's not having sex every day, he should be masturbating every day and not ejaculate until at least the 4th day.
So basically, you're training and disciplining your body.
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. And before we wrap up, tell me about this. I'd heard that when a man is inside a woman, he's encouraged to kind of make that sort of grinding movement so her clitoris can experience pleasure. And I had read it's called screwing for good reason, because it's, again, moving with the sacral chakra.
Yep.
A quick 10-second comment on that?
Well, yeah, it's screwing because he's rotating, but opening the hips while he's inside is releasing the stifled energy that we all have in our pelvic area. So men need to start to learn to harness that, because they lose the vitality through their body after they ejaculate. So you want to start reharnessing it so that you gain the energy back. So opening that pelvic area with the rotation, the screwing, will release it, and breathing it and pulling it through the body will pull all that energy through the body, so that when you do have an orgasm, you're not exhausted. It comes out through whole body orgasm.
Sounds beautiful, because lots of times people just kind of feel spent. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Marianne, for providing us with all these exciting new ideas to enhance intimacy, and viewers for joining us. Be sure to tune in again next week. And don't forget to email us your questions and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on missed episodes, watch your favorite shows again, and to help us pass the word. Let's create a sexual revival in Canada. I'm Rebecca Rosenblat, your host, wishing you happy, healthy, and passionate relationships. Until next time.